Welcome back from that package as we begin our discussion in the House this morning. Now, from Bangladesh to Venezuela, from Venezuela to the UK, from the UK to Beirut, from Beirut down to Nigeria, and of course, not forgetting just a few, paces back, Kenya. There's palpable tension in the air everywhere you look. On today's show, we want to take a look at the protest happening right now in the nation. But someone did say that how do you forge a beautiful future if you forget totally the incidents of the past? It's impossible. So on today's show, we're taking a look at the protest and, of course, the influence of Kenya Uprising. Lessons not learned. We have our guest in the house this morning to do justice to the discuss. Is Sam Olorunfemi, is a political analyst, is a trained journalist, former media aide to a lawmaker, an educationist, as well as a public relations officer. Sam, it's so nice to have you on Daybreak this morning.
The pleasure is mine once again. Thanks for having me.
Political prophet, you're really welcome. Except for, I think you happen not to prophesy this one. You didn't happen to prophesy this uprising. That means all the prophecies for the year.
Yes, Ezekiel, you don't need to prophesy because we have in the Constitution that it is right for citizens to go out on a peaceful demonstration, assembly, whatever language you want to use now to describe what we have under Section 39, Section 40 of the Nigerian 1999 Constitution as amended. So, Ezekiel, you don't need any prophecy.
You don't need prophecy for that. It's obvious.
Yes.
All right then.
So where we have a democratic system of government, things like this, they are inevitable. You understand now? For people to ventilate their opinions on policies that are not okay for the government.
But not in this manner. Not in this manner. You're talking about the looting.
You see, Ezekiel, you can't dissociate looting, damaging, criminal activities from protesting, because when you are
really
protesting, Ezekiel, when you are protesting, you don't know the number of people who are coming out to protest. We have some people that they have these heinous acts to perpetrate, but they'll be looking for a time that everywhere will be upturned so that they can perpetrate their evil acts. So, and that's why people keep saying that when you want to protest, ensure that you have a mechanism in such a way that will not allow miscreant or those with another motive or action contrary to that particular protest now to infiltrate. But guess what, Ezekiel? It is impossible for you to dissociate this kind of activities from protesting. When people are protesting, in fact, in school, when we have protests in school, you see some. We normally tag them that students don't want to write exam. You see now, so they will be the one destroying. One happened recently in Lagos State on the hill of rector, that a particular rector must stay, a particular rector must go, and we saw students vandalize a lot of things in school. So it's not new, Ezekiel. It has happened in our campuses where students will go on protest, and you see by types of students will be marching to the administrative blocks. Some will be destroying lecturers' cars, damaging lecture theaters, and so on and so forth. At the end of the day, school will be there. When you are coming, you take undertaking, then school will tell you that what you damage, everybody will go to paper. So all these things, you can't dissociate them when people are on rampage, when people are protesting.
Truly said. And I remember Anire making a bold statement saying lessons not learned from Kenya. Let's talk a little about Kenya. Probably not many things to remember or witness the Kenya incident. Let's talk a little about what happened, the Kenya Uprising, the similarities between the Kenya challenges and ours, where we probably fail to listen, lessons we fail to learn. Because I remember Kenya spoke about certain electoral challenges, and I know in this country we tend to be very vocal as to our own electoral challenges. It has been a challenge we faced yesterday. It's a challenge we are facing today, and with the way things are going, I'm not the prophet here, but it's more like we tend to face that same challenge tomorrow. So let's talk about Kenya and then some of the challenges they face and similarities with what's going on here in Nigeria.
Yeah, Ezekiel, in terms of electoral processes, I think we share the same thing with Kenya. Don't forget that the immediate president of Kenya, that is Uhuru Kenyatta, when he won his election, that election was challenged in court. In fact, there was a time that the Supreme Court in Kenya ordered for presidential election rerun in Kenya. Again, Uhuru Kenyatta won that particular election. So there's no time they will have election in Kenya that will not end up at the Supreme Court. And the same thing like us in Nigeria. I've been here, discussed about it, that it was in 1999 and 2015 that we didn't have any kind of post-presidential election litigation in Nigeria. In 1999, when Obasanjo was declared winner of that particular election, nothing like post-presidential election litigation. In 2003, we saw it between Obasanjo and Buhari. In 2007, between late Yar'Adua and Buhari again. 2011, between Jonathan and Buhari. 2015, Jonathan considered, in fact, before the official announcement of 2015 presidential election, Jonathan took phone, called former President Muhammadu Buhari to congratulate him winning that particular election. So in 2019, we saw between Atiku and Buhari. So in 2023 again, saw Bola Tinubu, Obi and Atiku. The same thing going on in Kenya. So we share that particular similarity. So we're talking about protest. In fact, let me twist it that 2020 NSAS lesson not learnt by Kenya. Don't forget that 2020 we had our own NSAS here in Nigeria. You said now when some Nigerians took to street, try to protest against police brutality. In fact, when you look at the genesis of that particular protest, started from, if I'm right now, from Delta State. If a memory served me right now.
Many claimed Edo State, actually.
Yes, from Delta State down to Edo State. People started moving out from East State just to register their displeasure over brutality of NSAS. And in most cases, they will tell you that after getting you, they usher you, let me use a biblical terms now, they usher you to ATM, you understand now, or POS, they withdraw money and so on. So at that particular time, Nigerians youth came out to reject issue of NSAS and so on and so forth. So I think at the end of the day, we saw what happened in Kenya in such a way that we're like, we should not be repeating all these things. Don't forget that NSAS ended on a sad note, Ezekiel, whether you like it or not. And don't forget the controversies now that followed the issue of NSAS protest. When some people say that some youth were killed, the former Minister of Information, Lai Mohammed, came out to say, well, government did not kill anybody, that if you know that you lost a family member,
come out and
you
say,
come out with your name and so on
but
and so forth.
But of course, everyone knows what happened, what played out eventually.
Exactly. In fact, at the top of that particular controversy, CNN even came out with their own footage that even led to another controversy, whether the army, whether they were firing live bullets at that particular night or rubber bullets and so on and so forth. You understand now? So again, we saw what happened in Kenya. You understand, Ezekiel, that in fact almost put down democratic system of government in Kenya. You understand now, to a point that President William Ruto had no option that to come out, try to yield to the yearnings of Kenyan youth. You know, when you look at what happened in Kenya, Ezekiel, in fact, when you look at the economic indices of Kenya and Nigeria in terms of inflation rate, go and check statistics, go and check data. Kenya inflation rate is less than 6%. Go and check it very well. And as here, we are talking about 33.something%.
Beyond.
So it's not that Kenyans were
almost
protested.
40.
Yes, not that they protested against economic action. But don't forget that then President Ruto introduced this financial bill that will increase taxation in Kenya, and that's what we've seen in Nigeria. No, since advent of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, you don't need to be told that this administration will be driven by taxation. It was then Mr. President constituted a committee on tax reform. How can we generate more money in such a way that this issue of borrowing will be subsided in such a way that we look inward? And today now we are talking about tax. So that what really happened in Kenya. And when you look at the protests in Kenya, I think they are all protests. I think they came out to say they will protest for 2 days or 2 days in a week, unlike us here, that we came out to say that it's going to be 10 days on a stretch. You understand? And I was like, is it possible for us to have a non-stop protest for 10 days, Ezekiel, without being hijacked by a miscreant? In fact, you saw what happened on day one of that particular protest. But when I was doing my analysis on a particular radio station in Oyo State, I said that what happened in 2020 NSAS happens to be a replica of what we saw now in vice versa. In 2020, Ezekiel, when you look at that particular NSAS protest, we did not record any kind of looting, violence at another part of the country. All the lootings, damages, wanton killings happened at the southern part of the country. Now look at what happened now in this particular.
It's a flip.
You understand now? So here now we did not record anything. The protests in Lagos State, Ogun State, Osun State, and Oyo State went peacefully in the southern part of the country. You understand now? In fact, as a matter of fact, don't forget that before that particular protest, we had a court ruling from Lagos State that confined the protester to a particular location. And in Abuja, someone asked me, I was like, when you read through the Constitution, protest, we don't have any place in the Constitution that protest being mentioned. You understand now? What we have in the Constitution is there shall be a peaceful assembly under Section 40. What do we mean by assembly? We all went to secondary school, Ezekiel. Assembly is when you converge in a place without moving from one place to another. That is where all of us in a particular location without moving from one place to another. So we saw what happened. Court came out that you people, you can have your peaceful assembly, but you don't move from one place to another. We are confining you in a particular location. In Lagos State, 3 locations. In Abuja, first they want to make use. We're told that they want to make use of Eagle Square. They wrote a letter to the FCT minister. We're told that particular letter was declined, and we know the proceedings when you want to make use of Eagle Square in Abuja, whether for political party, organization, church. You have to write to the FCT minister. Then he grants you permission to use it. At the end of the day, court said that they will use Moshood Abiola Stadium in Abuja, but on the day one that particular protest, they did not use MQ Abiola Stadium. We saw them on the street in Abuja and so on and so forth. So I think this issue of whether the lesson learned from Kenya protests or not and so on and so forth. And again, a little thing that scared me before this protest was that the organizers of this protest. No, I think when you go through this protest, now I think we have about maybe 20 to 20-something organizers we have different groups now that organized this particular protest. And at the end of the day, you know, the one that really scared me most before the protest, when they were talking that they want to replicate what happened in Kenya, in Nigeria. And I was like, this is not the way to go, because nobody pleased with what happened in Kenya to a point that the citizens almost pulled down the constituted authority in Kenya to a point that we were told that their lawmakers flew for safety, ran inside bush. We don't know whether video real or not. We saw some videos. We had some lawmakers eating inside the bush and so on and so forth. So I think nobody can say, and to me this is not that I'm here to prophesy. We can't say this will be the end of protests in Nigeria. Ezekiel. Don't forget that even the NMA they protested before, Nigerian Bar Association, ASU, NSC, TUC, and so on and so forth. We know that when those organizations, when they protest, you know that we have an organized protest. You see now, unlike when you have youth protesting, those who are waiting for an avenue to turn things upside down, police officers.
Now, Sam, talking about organized protests, we all know that the Kenyan protest didn't go to the streets immediately.
Exactly.
It was organized by a group known as the Gen Z group.
Yes.
And whatever protest they were doing was online.
Yes.
It started as a peaceful protest online before it got to the streets. Escalated in several cities, with the capital Nairobi, witnessing the worst of the violence on 25th June. And before you know what was happening, it became a life for a life, as it were. It got out of hand. So what we're trying to do now is, juxtapose what happened there and what happened now.
Yes, I think what happened in Kenya happened in 2020. And when you look at what happened in Kenya was as a result of leadership, let me say a failure in leadership. What do I mean? Don't forget that when that protest happened in Kenya, people were like, they want President Ruto to set down the bill. That was their agitation. Please, Mr. President, can you please step down the particular bill? And go back to 2020 NSAS. No, when that protest happened, the first demand was that Mr. President disband SARS from police structure. That was the initial agitation. You said now, no, people are there. Mr. President, can you please address us? And during the address, can you please vertically disband SARS? As SARS is a unit in the Nigerian police force. Please, can you disband? But
what happened eventually?
Then
was SARS disbanded?
No, then we did not see Mr. We are talking about all those things that is leading to this opera. No, then Mr. President did not talk. As a matter of fact, people waited for Mr. President. When Mr. President did not talk, people took to street, started protesting and so on. In fact, it was that particular time this issue of a slogan Sorosoki, speak loud, I want to hear you very well, happened in Lagos. In fact, it was Governor Sanwo-Olu that attended to the protesters in Lagos. What do you want? In fact, don't forget that from disband SARS, moved to remuneration of Nigerian police force, well equipped of our officers, and so on and so forth. Then Mr. President did not talk then. And the same thing happened in Kenya. When that protest happened online, people were like, Mr. President, please step down this particular financial bill for now. We don't need this for now. But then the president showed this kind of nonchalant attitude that, what will you do if I don't step it down? Nothing will happen. Not until he started seeing it on the street. people moving. Then he realized that no, this one is going beyond what we can control. And we know, don't forget that there's what we call ICC, that is International Criminal Court, that goes against genocide in such a way that if you have a mass killing in your country, you'll be charged to International Criminal Court. Obasanjo administration was charged to ICC. Don't forget what happened in OD in 1997 when he leveled OD. It was the administration of late Umaru Yesaya Adua that paid that particular compensation, because at the end of the day, federal government of Nigeria was found guilty by ICC, International Criminal Court, for carrying out genocide.
They were also found guilty for the NSAS because they were taken to the ECOWAS court, and they lost the case.
They lost. So when that thing happened in Kenya, Ruto now realized that no, if this thing should go on, we can't start killing our people because we know the implication at ECOWAS and ICC. It was then William Ruto came out and publicly announced that the financial bill hereby steps down. You see that immediately he announced the protests in Kenya went off. Let
us put that side by side with what is happening
now. Good. Before the protests here in August, we were expecting that it would be a good thing for our president to address protesters before they commence that particular protest. No, there's this tradition in Nigeria, and I'm hoping that we'll get to that particular system in such a way that we have a president that truly understands media relations. We've been lacking that in Nigeria since 1999. What do I mean? In such a way that you see maybe past president, they doesn't understand or know how to use media, how to communicate effectively to their citizens. It is only during the election process that you see these people now coming out, engaging with media and so on and so forth. The moment they have the power, they find it difficult to communicate to their citizens through media. And that's what we've been saying. Don't forget, I've been saying this. Section 22 of the Constitution is very clear. The role of the media, that media will hold the government to account, because media happens to be a middleman between the government and the citizens of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. So this thing has been missing in our system for long, in such a way that you don't see our leaders, even the governors, you don't see governors coming out to have what we call shout. Talk with your people. You carry them along with what you are doing, not until when we have another election, you'll be moving from one media house to another. So then we're saying that, Mr. President, please address this protester before the commencement of this particular protest in such a way that, like I keep saying, that don't forget that was it 24 hours to that particular protest, the Mr. President sent LGF, Minister of Information, Minister of Mineral Resources, Dele Alake, and so on and so forth to address Nigeria. I said, this will not work. These people have been addressing Nigeria.
Now, Ezekiel, Mr. Sam, just hold on a moment. Recall that before the August 1st protest, the planned or proposed a protest on the 29th, there was a protest where Abuja Road was closed. Before then, we've had protests in the north. It started in the north in Niger State. We had noises from Kano State, Borno State. They had started then, which was like a prelude to what will happen on the 1st of August. And it continued. Nigerians were waiting for 1st of August. It was like a march into uncertainty, but yet there was no voice from the presidency, just like what happened in Kenya. It started on the social media, and the president called them treasonable felons. That he called his own citizens treasonable felons, and exactly what has happened.
The thing is, using the word, there was no voice from the president. I wouldn't say there was totally no voice. We know for the fact the president's wife went out. She was dishing out palliative. That was probably her only way of trying to calm situations. We saw state governors, advocating on behalf of the president.
We're talking about the president eventually coming out to address the nation before the strike started.
Ezekiel, please let me.
Before the protest.
Please go.
Yes, Ezekiel, let me butt in. Don't forget. Let me use this as a clear example. When EU of minimum wage started, Mr. President did not wade in. It was via minister, LGF. Then we did not see any light at the end of the tunnel. Not until the president himself sat with the labor union, labor leaders.
Then there was a result.
There was result. That was what people were expecting. These people you are sending, the wife, people will tell you that in fact the office of the first lady doesn't recognize by the constitution. That is the fact. There's nothing like the office of the first lady in the constitution. So when you send your wife to go on, people will not listen. Send your ministers, people will not. People were like, we want to hear from Mr. President himself. In 2023, Mr. President went around the 36 states, including the FCT, to campaign for himself that he want to become the president. So people were like, when you moved around the whole 36 states to campaign for yourself. What is now the problem now for you to come out, address your citizens? So let me tell you, Ezekiel, something will happen in the family that until you hear from your father, you say now, your mind will not be at peace. Even if your mommy is trying to cajole you, tell you, say that, let my daddy come back. Whatever my daddy will say will be the final. So that was what Nigerians were expecting, that Mr. President will come out and address them. Then we're like, Mr. President, don't allow this to degenerate before you come out and address your people. And unfortunately, it degenerated to a point that we did not wish to happen. Don't forget that, was this Sunday or Saturday punching paper, we were told that 17 lives were lost. On the first day of that particular protest, we had bomb blasts in Borno on that particular day. 3 local governments in Yobe State was ransacked. People almost overwhelmed the Kaduna State government house to a point that security officers had no option than to start shooting to scare people away. Because what happened then? Someone asked me that, why do police need to use live bullets? Or people said that, it's very clear. When you read our criminal code, that's what we call a treasonable felony, in such a way that when you want to take over government in an unlawful manner, Section 1, Section 2 of the Constitution talks about the mode in which you can take the government. But when people are protesting with arms, ammunition, weapons, and they are moving towards the government house, Ezekiel, the interpretation of that is that these people are coming to take over government. And we know what the law says. I keep telling people, the Nigerian Police Act reform is very clear. 2020 as amended, particularly Section 83 of Section 4, that gives the Nigerian police that particular power to save the territorial integrity of the particular country. That if anything should happen, they must save the government and the people in power. So that's what, and to me, that again, it shows this issue of lacuna in the government structure with the people.
Well, why
do you have to wait?
Let's just say even silence speaks.
Ezekiel.
Silence has a voice, one way or another. You may like it, you may not like it, but it's still a voice. That is true.
That voice is dangerous.
It's still a voice.
That voice is very dangerous, Ezekiel. And I think silence voice is not too good in the democratic system of government.
But there's no crystal ball to determine what you.
If silence voice is okay, why do you go out on the election day for campaign, to move around, to keep campaigning, burning your energy and so on and so forth? Why don't you just tell Nigerians, I want to run for the president, I keep silence.
But at this point, I'm not an advocate for the president, because it's more like I'm the guest at this point. I am not an advocate for the president. No, I'm only saying because it's more like I'm almost being schooled right now. But like I said, you all will agree with me, silence speaks and it's a voice. Now, if the president decides to keep mute for the meantime, it's up to him. But nonetheless, he spoke even at some point. Now, let's talk about how this tends. Please don't look at me that way. Let's talk about how this tends to affect Nigerian political landscape. We know for a fact the uprising in Kenya really did a number on their political landscape. I won't say if it's favorable or not. I mean, I'm not.
Not favorable.
I will leave it to them. But let's talk about.
Immediately after that protest,
yes,
President Ruto dissolved his cabinet. Immediately, you understand now?
Some may say it's favorable, some may say it's not. So, like I said, I wouldn't decide on that.
But I don't want to cut this conversation between you and Ezekiel, right? Because of what you said.
Yes.
Now, it says that after the bloody mayhem in Nairobi, Mr. Ruto vowed to take a tough line over the treasonous events, saying the demonstrations were hijacked by criminals, while some activists accused government goons of fomenting violence. But a day later, yes. Ezekiel, a day later,
yes.
A more conciliatory President Ruto, whose administration is under pressure or was under pressure from the IMF for fiscal reform, said it was scrapping the finance bill. A day later, he waited for the protest or the uprising to get violent.
Yes.
Immediately it got violent. A day later, he changed everything.
Yes.
That was what happened.
So Ezekiel, that was that in this context, silence vote is very dangerous, Ezekiel. Dangerous. So you have to come out, speak to your people, speak to them, then let them hear your voice. Not that
what does this?
Look at what happened. After he spoke, he said, since then, pay rises have been frozen for all public servants.
Yes.
Pay rises have been frozen for all public servants, including ministers and MPs, in the face of public outrage over their perceived lavish spending, while ordinary Kenyans were told to tighten their belts.
It's more like what we are what we spoke about the last time. Talking about we tightening our belt while they are having SUVs for.
Yes.
But we're not onto that for now. We're almost out of time for our tea break.
Okay.
So the thing is, just before we go for that break, I just want to try out this question, and we'll come back. We could continue.
All right.
The issue of political landscape, like we said already, Kenya really faced it politically. Talk about 24 hours, talking about IMF and all that.
Yes.
What would this speak for our own political landscape here in Nigeria? I know it's more like half of the 10 days, and with the way we are going, I really hope we don't complete these 10 days because we are facing enough already as a country. If this will go down to day number 10, what will this speak for us? How will our political system, because it's more like at this point they're saying it's opposition party, gathering people against this party, all these blame games as usual.
Yes.
But with this, I don't know what sort of voice at this point is going to speak, or how will it look like at some point. I'm really skeptical to that point. But when we get back, I guess we will do justice to this one.
So we want to go for our tea. When we return, the conversation will continue. Stay with us. Welcome back to Daybreak Africa. That was the Go Start segment for you, where we want you to be financially independent, and we often advise that that segment be taken seriously. We're about to continue with the other half of our discussion, where we're taking a look at the ongoing protest as we try to juxtapose events with what happened at the Kenya Uprising, trying to find out lessons not learned between what happened then and what we're facing now. Our guest is still in the house. Remember, before the break, Ezekiel wanted to know the effect, the impact of this protest if it gets to the 10th day, what impact it will have on our political landscape. And of course, our guest is here to, let us understand that impact.
Well, Ezekiel, don't forget that before this protest, Mr. President met with a lot of people, traditional rulers, religion leaders, and so on and so forth, even governors, trying to use them to persuade the protesters not to start the protest. In fact, it got to a point we were wondering whether this protest will hold on the 1st of August or not. At the end of the day, we woke up to see that protest already going on in some cities in Nigeria. Now, when you look at we're talking about the political implication. Ezekiel, don't forget that period to the particular protest, we've been seeing a kind of blame game between even the presidential aide and that should be the candidate of Labour Party in the last election, where the Labour Party presidential candidate was alleged to have been the one sponsoring, trying to back up the protesters and so on and so forth. In fact, it got to a point, Peter Obi tried to sue Bayo Onanuga for defamation and libeling and so on and so forth, that he knew nothing about the particular protest and so on and so forth. So if care is not taken, if our government allowed the particular protest to move down to day 10, even though the tempo in which this protest started, Ezekiel, has been going down gradually. Because
you sure? You really sure it's going down? Because the news in Jos, the news in Kaduna is really...
Ezekiel, Ezekiel, don't forget that day one of the particular protest, people that came out, Lagos State and some area, you can't compare with people who are coming out. In fact, Lagos State today, when you go to Lagos State today now, people are going through their normal activities. In fact, don't forget that this protest, nothing happened in the southeastern region. All the factors in the southeast did not observe.
Why do you think this happened?
They have their own sit-at-home protest already. so we don't need to join.
They have a lot on their hands to worry about.
They have their Monday sit-at-home protest. So we don't need to join this with what they have on their shoulder already. In fact, when you go to the northwest, only a few states join this protest in the northwest. Some states, we have 6 states. Virtually most of these northwest states did not join the protest. So we recorded more in the northwest, that is Kano, Katsina, Kaduna, part in the northeast, that is Yobe, Borno, and maybe slightly in Adamawa and Taraba state. And we have some here in the southern part of the country, some south states like Delta State, Edo State. There's some states in the southwest, about 4 states in the southwest. It's only Ondo and Ekiti that did not join that particular protest. But what I'm saying is that, Ezekiel, when you go out, you see that the protest, the tempo of that protest now, and I'm talking about people that came on day one, I think the number is drastically reduced, because after the speech of Mr. President, people came out, eminent Nigerians came out to appeal to Nigerian youth that they should please off the street. Sultan of Sokoto came out not to appeal to the youth. Khan came out to appeal to the youth. Peter Said came out to appeal to the youth. Some eminent Nigerians now came out to appeal to Nigerians that they should please, can they leave the streets now and give a benefit of that to Mr. President to do whatever I want to do. The implication is that if this process will go for 10 days, Ezekiel, number one, it will show the leadership failure that we have in this country for unable to address the demands of their youth. Then again, it will show the lack of proactiveness on the part of the government. You see now, because before the protest started, I think if my memories have been right, we've never seen this kind of notice before. This notice lasted for, was it 2 weeks, 3 weeks, or virtually a month, that they were telling government that 1st of October we are going to embark on
August of August.
I beg your pardon, August. 1st of August, we are going to embark on the 10 days protest. So they gave government enough time, and people were like, at that particular time, government ought to have responded in such a way that this protest will not move on the 1st of August. But we did not see much from government, because what we were seeing from government was the same rhetorics coming out. We've been giving money to state governors, we've been giving grants to state governors, we've been doing this, the same rhetorics that doesn't convince these protesters to go out on the 1st of August to go and protest. So it's going to have a bad effect on our political system. Don't forget that today now, even the presidential candidate of PDP, Atiku, still supporting these protesters. After the speech on Sunday, he came out to say that the speech doesn't even have any weight to show that Mr. President is really sober with what is going on, or really following or wants this particular protest to end. So we know what is going on. It's a kind of political game, whether you like it or not. But what I'm saying is that if this process should end for 10 days, Ezekiel, it will have a bad effect on our democratic system of government in Nigeria, and even the government of the day is going to be a dent on their government that during their regime, Nigerians went on protest for 10 days without leaving the street. So I think it is high time we started reshaping the system in such a way that if anything should happen, I'm happy that even government cannot deny it, that there's hunger in the land. I'm happy that government doesn't deny it, because when you read through speech of the Mr. President, he acknowledged that truly we have hunger in the land. That was when he started telling us what he has done or what he's doing to ameliorate the effect of hunger and so on and so forth. He talked about money given to state governors. He talked about trying to acquire tractor for some country so that we can start cultivating our land, so that people can go to farm and so on and so forth. But to me, it shows a lack of proactiveness on the part of the government, failure in leadership. Then again, it will tell you that this democratic system that we are nursing is here to get to a peak in such a way that we can relax, that we don't have a democracy. Don't forget that during this protest, some people called for military takeover. To me, from the northern part of the country, that military should come and take over the government, and I'm happy that the former military head of state, Ibrahim Babangida, came out to just let them to understand that the solution is not for military taking over. Military junta now is in Niger, military junta is in Mali, military junta is in Guinea, military junta is in Burkina Faso. Have you seen any changes from that particular place? The answer is constantly no.
Sam.
Yeah.
Now the protest started. Should I say street officially street or what? Because it was announced like for a month.
Yes.
And first, though we had protests before then from all that happened on the 29th and even before 29th in the northern part of the country.
The testosterone.
Yes. Serious testosterone as a proof that it was going to go ahead. It did go ahead. Someone has described the economic hardship as the worst economic crisis in a generation. That's how the situation we are facing right now in the country, that's how someone has described the economic hardship, removal of fuel subsidy, execution of economic reforms, floating of the naira. There are demands that Nigerians are making to the government to be met. So personally, when I learned that the president was coming out to give the speech, I was so hopeful that something was about to give, a change was about to happen, akin to what happened in Kenya. I did a big mug of tea, sit down and wait for it. Oh, so the change that we want, the change that Nigerians want will happen. I want you to react again, we're taking a look at what happened in Kenya and the lessons not learned by the protests happening now by the Nigerian government and also by citizens. Let's dissect that speech a little bit, and of course the expectations towards the speech and what Nigerians got. Do you think, though you've said that it did not address, some people have said it did not address the issue, in your own opinion, put that speech on the ground, the situation we're going through, what happened in Kenya, the reaction of Ruto, and to what we have right now?
When you look at what happened in Kenya, basically was the issue of financial bill stepping down. But when you look at the demands of these people now, more than a demand, you see now, they are talking about politicians now placed on minimum wage.
It was more like a memo.
You and I understand
but
that.
It happened in Kenya.
You and I.
It happened in Kenya. I just read it now.
Anire, you and I understand that.
It happened in Kenya.
Politicians in Nigeria are not civil servants. You understand that? It's only civil servants that can be placed on minimum wage. Politicians, we call them public servants. They are not civil servants, because if they are civil servants, it will be there that after 35 years of age, or 65 years of age or 35 years in service, you leave. But don't forget that we have some politicians now that have been in system since 1999. So it shows that this EU place our politicians on minimum wage.
They are not public servants. Did you say they are not public servants?
I said they are not civil servants, but they are public. But the politicians in Nigeria are public servants. They are not civil, because Anire, let me tell you, no politician is under Anire, no politician in Nigeria. No politician in Nigeria is under Civil Service Commission. That's what we are saying, because protesters are saying that place all politicians under minimum wage so that they will be collecting 70,000 naira. And you and I understand that these people, they are not under Civil Service Commission. They are not under the head of Civil Service Commission. We understand.
These are demands by the protesters.
But we understand some demands that can never come to reality, whether we like it or not.
Really?
Now they are talking about tones of the Senate. Let's forget about Senate. Let's have only House of Rep. You know, in Nigeria, we are parting to what we call unicameral now. Now they are talking about bicameral. Forget about the Senate, then let's talk about the House of Reps. We know that Mr. President is a constitutional matter, Anire. Okay. You expect Mr. President to come out to say, Senate, you are no more Senate. It's only House of Reps. It is a constitutional matter because Section 4 of the Constitution is very clear. That is the section of the law that establishes National Assembly, House of Senate, and House of Reps. So you don't expect Mr. President to come out and read like how William Ruto read it, that, okay, I stepped down the financial bill. So Mr. President will come. I'm not defending Mr. President. I'm not Adudin Gilali. I'm not by your Nonuga. You understand? I'm telling those who are watching that true, they can table their demands, but they are the demands that will pass through legislation. There are some demands that you need to tighten rope on the neck of your lawmakers as your various central districts. Go to Abuja, go and do this for us. So it's not a thing that Mr. President will come out and announce. So we are telling Mr. President to come out to say, okay, fellow Nigerians, there's nothing like Senate again now. I hereby declare that we are going to have only House of Reps. When Section 4 of the Constitution says that we are going to have the Senate and the House of Reps, and we know if that won't have to come to reality, it has to pass through legislation from the National Assembly. So there's some demands that these people need to understand. That Mr. President cannot come out and read like that and it will come to pass.
Mr. Ruto also unveiled further spending cuts to tackle government wastage and compensate for the lost revenue from tax hikes, while warning that borrowing would have to rise.
Don't forget that before this protest, I don't want to speak as if I'm speaking for Mr. President. Before this protest, Mr. President told us that all import, tax on importation, food we are importing will be off for now because of the food hunger in the land. So it's like the president is trying to reform some things, and we need to understand that some demands, Mr. President can come out to declare some. Recently, when this issue of spending came out, Mr. President came out to say, okay, people that will be following me to these foreign trips have been cut down. People that will be following my wife to foreign trip and local trip, they have been cut down. So he made that pronouncement. And see, Anire, my point is that what are the governors, what are they doing at this particular time? Does it mean that they doesn't have a role to play in what is going on, even though we understand that what we are practicing in Nigeria is what we call a presidential system of government, where everything centers in Abuja. If people should come to your house now to beat you now, you'll be expecting Mr. President to address the situation. If you and your wife now, if you are fighting now, you'll be expecting Mr. President from Abuja to wade in yourself now. So we concentrate more at the center because of what we are practicing. Presidential is assuming that we are practicing what we call a parliamentary system. No, nobody will focus in Abuja. It will be a regional basis. So what I mean, like in all this, what are the governors? What are they doing? Does it mean that they don't even have a role to play in what is going on in the country?
What should be the role of the governors in all of this? What should be the role of the governors as our children are on the streets protesting for whatever demands they're asking for? What should be the role of all the governors?
No. The governors need to understand that this assignment is a joint assignment, federal and state. Now, people are talking about hunger in the land, this issue of cost commodity in the market. Now, each state, what are they doing to ameliorate the effect of hunger in the land? Each ministry of agriculture in each state, what are they doing to ensure that farmers in their state are well backed up with a lot of machinery that they need to go to their farms to improve more food at their farms so that we can bring it to people so that people can eat? What are they doing at their state level? So that's why we're saying that it is not limited to federal alone. The governor have a role to play. Since the removal of first subsidy, Anire, since the removal of first subsidy, each state, their allocation to each state has been increased. More than 4 billion naira. I challenge any governor to challenge me on this. So since all this, what I'm saying in each state. So it's like the governors are now hiding under this presidential system that anything that will happen, people will go to Abuja to complain. They have a big role to play in this. What are they doing at their various states? It's just like when you have a family that the children are crying every day, and the mother seems not to understand that she also has a role to play. That is not until when the man come back, then it will provide for the family. She has a role to play as a mother in the house. So we citizens, we are the children. The governors, they are the wives. Mr. President is the sole author that we have in this country. So governors need to come out and roll out palliative for their people. Governors need to come out and tell us what they've been doing at their various states to reduce what we are talking about. We are talking about employment. Is there everything that Mr. President will do on the issue of unemployment rate? In terms of agriculture, is there everything that the Minister of Agriculture will do? What are our commissioners? What are they doing? What are they doing to release or to relieve Nigeria from this hardship? So that's why I say that even governors at this particular time need to come out. In fact, they need to come out and tell us what they've done
actually,
at their various states.
You're making a very, very valid point. Now, I was actually thinking of that particular thought just before and we'll ask the next question, because it's more like we're putting so much pressure on the presidency, as it should. I'm not saying we should not give the presidency.
Exactly,
I mean, he said he wants the job. I mean, it's his duty, it's his job. So, but I tend to wonder, we really tend to lift our fees of our governors.
Exactly.
And they have, it's more like they're the nearest person to us. We know they have allocations. We know sometimes they even give us no breakdown of what is happening. We know billions has been coming in. We know for a fact money has been coming in. Now, it may not be enough, but at least it's only fair to be transparent. You know, tell us, this is what came in this month. This is how it was spent. This is what we're expecting. And this is why probably this sector or that sector may not feel it for now, because we're actually focusing on the other sector. Things as that. I mean, we elected them for heaven's sake. So I mean, they owe us that much.
Yes.
Now, so I tend to wonder at this point, from Kenya's post-uprising reconstruction effort, what can we learn? You know, since we're still on the basis of lessons learned, or lessons not learned in this case, actually, lessons
so
not learned. What can we learn actually from the from Kenya's uprising reconstruction effort? What can we adopt? Because we know for a fact, ever since that incident, the economy, the structure tends to change. I'm not in a part or at a point to say for good or for worse, but we know there was a little change. Is there something we could learn from them? Is there how we could actually restructure? Because to be honest, we all as Nigerians know for a fact our economy needs whole lot of restructuring, whole lot. Now, what can we do considering what has been going on?
Ezekiel, we must understand that not what we are facing in Nigeria is the same thing they are facing in Kenya. We must understand that what they are facing is quite different from what we are facing here. But at least what we are trying to say is that the leadership proactiveness in Kenya, can we replicate that here in Nigeria in such a way that our leaders will come out to even show more concerns, and then part of the demands that can we see one that government can still immediately now work on without passing through? Not all of them need to pass through legislation, Ezekiel. There's one that even mere pronouncement by Mr. President, things will just go down. This issue of, people are talking about fuel subsidy. That can we remove can we bring out subsidy now?
Yes.
In such a way that we start buying fuel at the rate of this maybe 200 naira, 300 naira per liter. Now, if we are going to do that again, the question now will now be, I listened to one of the organizers who happens to be a lawyer, that it would be preferable for president to start subsidizing than to start giving the monies to the government, because we were told that the money used to be paying subsidy before, the money now is being given to our governor. So if we are talking about, to me, and I don't see possibility of reversing this issue of pump price back to maybe 200 naira or 300 naira per liter as people are talking about, you understand now, because we have to look at the cross implication. Naira to dollar is not talking the way it used to talk now before this administration came aboard. When this administration took over power last year, naira to dollar at the official parallel market was around 500 and something naira to dollar. Now we are talking about 1,000 and something. And for that, this 2024 budget, when you look at the budget very well, the benchmark of Mr. President was 750 naira to dollar. We are yet to achieve that particular 750 naira to dollar now. We are still rolling or fluctuating between 1,000 and 1,500 and something and so on and so forth. So I think if we had to, because when Mr. President was coming, I was expecting him now to talk on more of these demands of these people are talking about, cutting the cost of governance, you understand now, and so on and so forth. But when you read through the speech, I think it started by sympathizing with those who lost their lives, those who lost their businesses. Then it started talking about its achievement. In the last 1 year in office, I've done this, I've done that. But I think what Nigerians are expecting is that, okay, this issue of cost of governance, okay, my minister now, we have to call down. No, we're talking about cost of governance now. Later, it was Mr. President talking about having the livestock ministry. You understand now? When we're like, okay, can we adopt, people are talking about, can we adopt Olorunfemi report that talks about merger? When you look at this, when you look at our system in Nigeria, we have a lot of duplication in the government system. You understand?
Sam, just hold your breath. It's good that you brought up Olorunfemi's report, yes. But on the news, was it yesterday's news? We learned that despite Olorunfemi's report and the fact that this present administration actually made Nigerians feel that they're taking a look at it. New ministries
that's what I'm saying
have just been created against the report, and even in this period of what is going on in the country.
And Anire, when you look at that ministry, it's supposed to be a department at the Ministry of Agriculture. Livestock supposed to be a kind of department at the Ministry of Agriculture. In fact, this is the first time in Nigeria since 1999 we are going to have this large size of cabinet. About 49 ministers, because he also is a minister of petroleum now. About 49 ministers. And the question is, how effective are these ministers? We can point to only 2 or 3 or 5 of them that are effective, that we hear them in the news. In fact, today now, I was here when I was just making it as a form of fun that even me sitting down here, I don't think I can measure up to 20 ministers. But they are not effective. We are not hearing them. What are they doing at their various ministry? So that's also that is what we are saying, that instead of us to adopt this Olorunfemi report, looking at our economy, economy wasn't bad at that particular time when Olorunfemi made that report, that we have a lot of duplication all over ministries. You see the particular ministry doing the same thing, you see another ministry doing the same thing, and money going without any result coming out. So people were expecting that this administration will try to cut a cost of governance in such a way that we allow Nigerians and we allow our economy to breathe. But what do we see? We are seeing more ministry coming up, more people, more appointments, and so on and so forth. In fact, don't forget that up to now, we are yet to have ambassadors to some countries. Up to now, we are speaking, and it's statutory. We need to have ambassadors to some countries. Some of them have been recalled. Up to now, there was a time they had the Honorable Minister of Foreign Affairs. That what happened then, he gave some excuses that Mr. President is here to appoint ambassadors to other countries. So at this particular time, what matters most is cutting the cost of government. People are saying that you can't be telling your people that you are feeling your impact and you are living large, as if you are less concerned. People are going to street, hunger is everywhere, and those who are supposed to show more sense of responsibility that they are following us, they are living large. They are moving from one place to another, and that's why people are saying that you can't be doing this and telling that you are feeling our pains. No, so if truly you want to tell the Nigerians that you are feeling their pains, then we need to see. House of Rep members made some move in cutting their salary, maybe 50%. Like they want to give 50% of their salaries to Nigerians. What has happened to that? We don't even hear anything again now. whether truly that 50% of salary has been cut, and so on and so forth.
How much is the 50%? So we'll know there is transparency. How much is the initial amount and how much is the 50% of that amount of money?
You know, up to now, people are still talking that their salary is 600,000. So I don't have far to that.
Is there a place where we can actually punch in and see this is the amount?
So they're telling that they are basic. No, they said basic salary, no allowances. Big salary.
Have you seen it?
Yes.
You've seen the basics?
Yes, 600,000 naira. The big salary.
Okay.
So they say that they want to cut the 50% of their salary. So that how would they do it? Is it that they go to cut it, give it to the Minister of Finance, or they will cut it, come back to their various constituencies to look at their people, what they are facing through, what they are passing through, trying to inject something that will cushion the effect of hardship on their various constituents.
Because of time, Sam, the Nigerian youth who is out there chanting, the Nigerian youth who has families have lost children, brothers, fathers, we're talking more days to go on the protest. There are some that are diehard, they are there are some who sleep on the streets. Let us calm down and talk about the Nigerian youth in the face of all of this. What do you have to say to the Nigerian youth? We're counting the days of the protest. Lives have been lost.
Anire, to
we
me,
are faced with a reality right now.
Anire, to me,
there seems to be like a go slow or not, or is there movement or not? What do we do?
We have the movement, but to me, this is not the best way to go. If I'm to say that we provoke respect to my fellow youth, see, the best way to go is through the balloting, and I will give you clear example. In the 2023 general elections, the INEC chairman came out that about 70% of voter registers happen to be Nigerian youth. 70%. You know what it means? It shows that if Nigerian youth should come together the way they are coming together now, to move to the poll and say that this is the person we want, that person will become the president. But when it comes to electionary system, we see our youth more divided. They move with various political parties. It's there you see youth at the forefront of campaign rallies. They will be the one you will see at the campaign rallies, wearing vests, face cap, hanging buses, chanting names, painting posters from various political parties. At the end of the day, when things are not going the way it's supposed to go, they will not realize that they need to come together and start talking that we need change. You can't change through the protest. I've been saying it. If you want change, Section 178 is here to become a governor. Section 132 Section 2 is here to become the president. So to me, what are we doing when it comes to election? You will see, Anire, after 2020 answers, we were like, maybe things will change. What did we see? You know that election, a by-election was held in Lagos that year, and still the same party. These people went out to kick against, won that particular election. People were like, where were the youth that went out to street protesting that they don't want this particular party in place? They did not come out on the election day to vote. It's then you will see play football. I'm happy Ezekiel and I were set during the last general election. We got a feedback from Ilori that our youth were playing ball on the street. So they're going to go and vote. Majority of those that are supposed to go and vote, they said they want to work with INEC as adult staff, youth. And they want to go and vote. So at the end of the day, when things now turn upside down, they will come together. You see them on the street protesting, they want change, and the best change that they can use their numerical strength, if I can put it like that, is through the balloting when the election comes. But you see politicians hijacking them, use them as their spokesperson, media aid, and so on and so forth, and you see youth clashing, showing interest for one political party or the other. After that, after election, they come together and say they want to protest. No, that's not the best way to go. The best way to go now is for you to realize that we have the numerical strength when it comes to electing who will be our leaders. Come together on the election day. Don't allow your conscience to be bought by politicians. Come together. This energy that you are using to call out your fellow youth now. You know, during protests, they put away religious sentiment. They put away this issue of ethnic sentiment. All of the youth, they come together, holding flags. We want change. Can they come down together on the election day, Anire? I tell you, politicians will fail them.
The thing is, in Kenya, the impact actually resulted to certain regional instability. Currently in Nigeria, think we have time. Of course, but just in a few minutes.
Drop it, yes.
But when it comes to Nigeria, I'm not sure if we are having regional instability or stability. in just the way Kenya had it. We know for the fact the East, you made mention the East are probably having enough on their plate. Probably it's none of our business anyways. We have our own. We are just dealing with our problems from the onset. The Southwest probably I say, our brother is probably up there, so let's be gentle on him. Let's handle this, as one people here. I'm just saying, maybe the North are saying we're really feeling this heat because we could tell from just Kano. I think there was one who did Russian flag.
Yes, that is Kano.
That was funny.
Yes.
I don't know what
highly worrisome.
I don't know what that meant, but okay to that. Now, how does it actually affect regional stability or instability as the case?
In my introduction, I told you what happened in NTAS protests. That we felt the ETA at the southern part of the country. Places were burned, cars were burned. So, in fact, we were told that a big forensic lab in Lagos State was raised down. And in another part of the country, maybe but that time they were like, our boy is there, so please begin to just patch him. But now look at what happened now. It's like they have their own boy there now. Everything went peacefully in the southern part of the country. Another part of the country now, it was hell. In fact, don't forget that day we had curfew in Kano State. Yobe State curfew was declared in 3 local governments.
Curfew in just from Sunday to
Borno State curfew
Monday.
there. I heard that Kaduna State have been imposed 24-hour curfew now. Yesterday now, 24-hour curfew. So there's no time. There's no how you go to have this saying that your sentiment will not come in Ezekiel. Whether we like the sentiment will come in. Now look at the
religious sentiment,
exactly.
Sentiment.
Now look at the southeast. People did not come out in the southeast. You understand now? They told you that our own is enough. That if the Monday sit at home now is enough on our shoulder. We know people that have lost their life on the issues of sit at home. We've lost some of our gallant military officers in this sit at home. So it's like there are now places that region by region. This region we go out, we just maintain, we just lie low. That region we go out. In fact, when you look at the campaign of some people before this protest, we tell you that Southwest, you remember what happened in 2020? Don't allow us to have the same unpalatable situation again. If you want to go out, please go out peacefully. Don't repeat what happened in 2020 again. And we saw that. So I think we need to move away in such a way that it will be a kind of, okay, I have my own brother there. If at all the food inflation is 100%, since we have my brother there, let's do something easy. And some people tell you that it is your brother now, he's not do anything. Let's raise the whole place. Let's turn everywhere upside down. So obviously, Ezekiel, it has what result a regional effect on this part, whether we like it or not.
We don't have time. Time is not our friend, but I know that our guests will be back here again as we take a look at the ongoing protest in the nation right now. Our take on the matter is stay safe, stay calm, and please don't get carried away with emotions. This is the only nation that we have. We are not strangers, so let's not turn ourselves to fugitive. So my name is Anire Binitie. Thanks for watching. Hope to see you again tomorrow.
All right, you stay very, very safe. Emphasis on very safe. And I remain Ezekiel Ogar.
Bye.